Good morning, Peter. First of all, thank you very much to receive us in your apartment in Paris and being at the same time in front of thousands of people in WUHAN and online. Since some months, we are facing a huge sanitarian crisis completed by a tremendous economic crisis. COVID has been changing our world. COVID is still changing drastically our world. My first question, Peter, is how do you see COVID changing purchasing and supply management and the relation with suppliers?
The real key is the good relationship between your supplier and the company, and that this is a kind of a partnership you have to develop. So that's why I say it's quid pro quo. It is, you must create a win-win situation with your suppliers. And whatever you name it, then it's a second thing. But I think the key is to have the right philosophy of longer-term sustainable development of both your company and your suppliers. Otherwise, if one side tries to squeeze the other side, this can end into a fight or in breakdown or whatever. So I think long-term relationship based on a win-win situation for me would be a key for any good supply management.
How do you see this global world changing, and more specifically in Asia?
Well, I think the global work is continuing to develop and the globalization goes on. What we see is, of course, shifts between the different regions. I think that Europe is becoming to a stagnating right now. America is doing reasonably well, and I think the Asian world is still growing, driven by China, but also all the other countries like Indonesia, Vietnam, not to talk about Japan and so on. So I think there's a shift. The center of global economy is moving slowly away from Europe toward Asia, and America, being in the intermediate position, is well positioned to participate on both sides.
In this evolution, how do you see the roles of procurement in the region?
I don't know the region well enough to judge it, but I think given the importance of countries there and given the natural resources which are there, I think that the importance of this region will grow. And by definition, the importance of the companies and the supply management will grow parallel with it. You cannot avoid it if you have because it's becoming part of the global flow of goods.
And we have big shift these days in terms of technologies, IoT, big data, artificial intelligence. How do you see the evolution of procurement, and how do you see these changes impacting procurement?
Well, with the growth of and importance of those countries and the companies in those countries of that region, I think that there will be also growth of importance of good supply management, because it's bound to be the driving function if the companies want to grow and succeed. So I see no big difference between the importance of purchasing and supply management in European companies or big American companies, and now meanwhile also the Asian companies. I think they should. I'm pretty sure they already are aware of the potential of those markets and the potential which supply management can bring to a good company. So it's bound to happen.
And when we speak about strategic function, very frequently we also see the roles of procurement people as savings. Do you see a split or same roles in between strategy and savings?
I see savings just one element of purchasing, of course. Purchasing task is to secure a supply with optimal prices. But this cannot be done at the cost of your suppliers, at the total cost of your suppliers. So you have to develop a longer-term strategy which ensures sustainability of your supply. So I think this is why purchasing is such an important function, because it has both a strategic component of sustainability and has, of course, also a short-term component of profitability. And to find the best solution for the both is the art of good supply management.
And in EIPM, we say very frequently values for value. Among these values, we spoke about sustainability. We also speak about the ethic, about corruption. How do you see the role of procurement in a lot of different regions concerning these values?
Yeah, I think
they're driving.
I think that there are company values, of course, which you have to consider. There are country values, because it could be different from country to country. But I think in the purchasing, in the relation between the purchasing or supply function and your suppliers, you must find the common values between your supplier and your company, and then find the best solution which satisfies both sides of the equation. And I think that the most good companies have basically the same values. And the value is, I think, sustainable growth and success of a company.
Some years ago, you created your matrix. The world has been changing. We spoke about all this innovation and all these elements. If it were today, what you would be adding to this matrix?
To the matrix?
It was yesterday, right?
I wouldn't add much to the matrix. I would just look at the individual criteria and said, did some criteria change, or do you need some new criteria, or do some criteria need more attention than before? For me, a typical example is technological development, because technological development is increasing very rapidly and almost at exponential pace. So whatever relates to those technological development, I think is becoming of a very critical importance for any supply management. So just shift maybe the attention between individual criteria and look, maybe another criteria would be necessary given the changes in the market or technology or the structure of the market.
And people. And also people, due to the relation.
People, of course, yeah, but I think that's why you need the best people in supply management, because it's a very strategic function. I think you need people who think both strategically and operationally. So you need people of the quality which are able to work not only supply management function, but would be also successful in any other core function of the company, in marketing or in total leadership or in R&D. So you really need people with broad perspective and quick analytical mind to understand what's going on and how do you quickly adapt to the new situation in supply market.
Just a last advice to all these people who are looking at you now on the screen. What would you say as a conclusion?
My advice would be to have a very open mind and to look at the global world as it is, how it develops, but then understand what are the intermediate levels on which you have to act and understand what's going on. What's going on in the global market, what's going on in the major regions, like Asian region, it's very important. What's going on in individual countries and what's going on in individual sectors or companies. So there are several layers of decision making, and you have to, as a good purchasing or supply manager, you have to understand what is the connection across those levels and what are the levers I can use to optimize my task and ensure a longer term success of my company.
Thank you very much, Peter, for this discussion in these very ethic words. So it's always wonderful to speak with you. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you very much for your interest, and my best regards to all the participants, and I wish a lot of success.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
So.